The Knights of Favonius is, as the lore puts it, an order responsible for protecting Mondstadt and its belief of freedom. As an organization, it was founded about 1,000 years ago when the Lion Fang Knight, Vanessa, wrenched Mondstadt free from the grip of the aristocracy and turned it truly into the city of freedom. The god of freedom and spirit of wind Barbados himself helped her establish the Knights to make sure that the corrupt aristocracy never rose up to rule again as dictators in Mondstadt. 500 years later, 500 years before the traveler arrived, there was a knight of Favonius who was called the White Knight. Under the tutelage of Wolf Pup Rostam, the second in command of the knights at the time, he was made to understand the three important principles of being a knight: chivalry, justice, and skill with the sword. What Rostam didn't have to give him, however, was a battle lust. A lust for fighting and bloodshed that he convinced himself was just the pursuit of the eradication of evil in his world. During his tenure as a knight, he came to the rescue of a beautiful court maiden, and she fell madly in love with him on sight, but because of their position, she couldn't say what her heart had spelled out for her. And so, instead of confessing her love to the White Knight, she tried to give him gifts to show her affection. The White Knight, however, would only accept a single white flower as a medal of her affection, believing that the act of chivalry itself was its own reward. When the White Knight left again on his expeditions, the maiden stayed her heart. For her, time stopped on the day that she met the knight, and it would remain that way until the day she died, waiting for him to return. Over the years, fewer and fewer people looking to court the maiden came to her door, and while time may have stopped for her heart, it did not for the rest of her. We don't exactly know what happened to her, but it's possible that the maiden died alone, still waiting for the day that the White Knight would come back, would return for her and sweep her off her feet again. This is the tragedy of unrequited love, but the White Knight had different designs for his time. As he fought more and more of the monsters and evildoers that he deemed plagues to the people of Tevat, he slowly lost more and more of himself to the thrill of bloodshed. Through every battle, every slaughter, every drop of blood he shed, he wore the maiden's flower on his armor, just over his breast, and the flower, once delicate and white, turned black and hardened like metal. A flock of coal-black ravens, drawn to the blood he spilled in great amounts, with his once fair but now blackened blade, began to follow him on his journey. His path was to rid the world of monsters, of poverty and of evil, but in so doing, he found that the blood he'd spilled was not only that of the monsters, but his own, and worse, that of innocence. Though he fought to save people and killed the monsters that afflicted them, he himself had become a monster. The Bloodstained Knight. This realization that those he wished to save feared him broke him, and he resolved to go to the fallen kingdom of Khaenri'ah to defeat the monsters that continued to pour forth from its gates, or die trying. As he descended into the depths of Khaenri'ah, felling monsters with his black sword that thirsted for the blood of the living, he finally fell and was killed there in the depths of the ruined kingdom. It was only then, as he lay dead, that he realized exactly what it was he was fighting. The kingdom's curse was wrongful, and it had turned its inhabitants into monsters. He'd been killing the innocent inhabitants of this kingdom, and his code of chivalry would not abide that. Even after all he had done, he pledged himself to the Abyss Order, declaring that the curse on Khaenri'ah was the ultimate injustice. After all, as Dainsleif tells us, the destruction of the nation of Khaenri'ah by the gods is the reason why the Abyss Order now seeks to destroy the nations watched over by the Seven. The domain where one can obtain pieces of the Bloodstained Chivalry set is the Clear Pool and Mountain Cavern in Liyue. Interestingly, while the lore for the domain doesn't really connect, the domain consists of a time challenge to defeat 3 different Abyss Mages: a Cryo, a Hydro, and a Pyro Abyss Mage. It seems fitting that the way to get the artifacts that represented the Bloodstained Knight, who pledged himself to the Abyss Order, is to go to a place where you must fight 3 strong abyss mages. Maiden Beloved, on the other hand, that one's available in the domain Valley of Remembrance in Mondstadt. This one fits a little bit better with the lore. Its description states that after a period of time, the people of the continent lost track of the past and began searching for things that they had forgotten. This sort of vaguely parallels the Maiden herself, who lost track of her own time and waited for the day that the night would come back, ultimately succumbing to the loss of her own past as well as her present and future. She was frozen in time. It features treasure hoarders and Fatui agents. Perhaps this is the sort of danger from which the White Knight saved the Maiden. Here we've covered both Bloodstained Chivalry and Maiden's Beloved, as well as touched on a little bit of the lore for the Black Sword. There are tons and tons of lore bits from artifacts and weapons and all kind of stuff that I would love to go through, just a whole bunch more of them. I kind of want to make this into a series. Which items, which artifacts, which weapons should I talk about from Genshin Impact next? Tell me in the comments below. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I haven't done a lore video or like a theory crafting video in a really long time, so I figured this would be something that I could do, considering I've invested a good deal of time into Genshin Impact recently, because the theater has, oh boy, has that been a thing. I don't know if it would be fun to make a theater story time video to just go through all the stuff that the theater has done and made me do recently, because it has been a nightmare. If you're interested, let me know. But I think I will do at least a few more sort of Genshin Impact lore videos. We'll see what we can do. Anyway, thank you guys for coming and watching. I will see you next time.